Have you ever lost a friend? Not because of a fight, but because of politics? That's exactly what happened to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and it almost broke the country. Welcome to History I Just Learned, the podcast where we explore the history and the human lessons behind it. My name is Sergio,
And I am Zaira.
and we are a husband and wife team from the Dominican Republic,
And I'm from Mexico.
learning right along with you. But before we start, sweetie, can you tell people where we are right now?
We are in the only closet that we have in the house.
Yes, we took out all the coats for winter,
Here's where we put our winter coats.
and we basically try to set up this here. It looks ridiculous.
Yes.
If you see we're recording, if you are watching on YouTube, this looks silly as hell, right? But the reason for that is because we have this other area, but mind you, we have two kids and they're very loud.
And you can hear the neighbors and the dogs from upstairs.
Yes, the neighbor and the dog, and also the leaking. It's almost impossible
Yeah.
for us to do it. But the story for today is a very interesting one because you have a public friendship between two politicians that may have broken the country before it even started. You know, because Thomas Jefferson and John Adams became friends. At least, like Facebook friends is not real friends, but it's more than that, obviously. But, they became real friends through letters and...
I mean, before texting, there were letters.
Yes. But let's start over here. It is May 1775 in Philadelphia. Remember, that's when they were talking about independence. The Second Continental Congress and is meeting. News has already come in from Lexington and Concord. That's the battle that
They were
started.
fighting with the Brits.
It started the whole Revolutionary War. Blood has been spilled. No one has formally declared independence yet. This is not a theoretical debate anymore. This is about war. And into that room walks John Adams. Adam is not polished. He's not charismatic in the modern sense. He's intense in a way that makes you slightly uncomfortable. He believes deeply in what he's saying, and he doesn't soften it to make you like him more. He's argumentative. Even his friends admit that. He has this relentless energy, like he's 10 steps ahead in his mind and impatient that everyone else isn't moving as fast. Now contrast that with Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson does not command the room where he enters it. He is younger, 7 years younger than Adams, and noticeably quieter. He doesn't love public speaking. He doesn't love confrontation. He is not the guy standing up and pounding the desk. If anything, he prefers to work through ideas on paper first.
He sounds more like me. I mean, I don't like public speaking, This is a little bit out of my comfort zone.
Yes. So years later, Adam would reflect on Jefferson's presence in Congress and write, a frank and decisive member. And I love that line because it's layered.
I mean, what do you like about it?
Adam is recognizing that Jefferson wasn't loud on the floor. He wasn't dominating debates, but in smaller rooms, in committees, in private conversations, he was sharp, clear, direct, effective. At this point, in 1775 and 76, there is just a group of colony leaders trying to decide whether they are about to commit treason against the most powerful empire in the world, the British Crown, right? And here's where the dynamic between Adams and Jefferson becomes powerful. When Congress appoints a committee to draft the declaration explaining why the colonies are breaking from Britain, Adams is on that committee. So is Jefferson, along with Benjamin Franklin and others. Adam could write it himself. He has more experience in debate and public persuasion than Jefferson, but he doesn't. He pushes Jefferson to write it because Jefferson is a talented writer, elegant, persuasive, and eloquent. Later in life, Adams would explain why. He said Jefferson was a Virginian and Virginia mattered politically. He said Jefferson wrote better than he did, and he also admitted something fascinating, that he himself was obnoxious, suspected, and unpopular. That's at least there is a little bit of self awareness there, right?
As you telling this, I'm imagining him, and that's a little bit a humble way of saying it, because he seems like not the type of person to
He has his ego.
speak about others that way.
hmm Adams knows his strength is in his writing. So Jefferson writes. And what he writes becomes the Declaration of Independence. But writing, it's only half the battle. The Declaration has to be defended, it has to survive edits, it has to survive criticism, because it has to be adopted by men who are literally risking execution for signing it.
That's very true.
And Adams is one of the strongest advocates in debate. We don't have a transcript of him pacing the floor, but multiple accounts confirm that Adams was relentless in arguing for independence. So imagine that partnership. Jefferson drafts the vision, the philosophy, the moral case, the language that still echoes today. Adams stands up and fights for it. One writes the words, one carries the fight. Years later, Jefferson would refer to Adams as the Colossus of Independence. Colossus. That's not political courtesy, that's admiration. It tells you that Jefferson, even after everything that would happen later between them, never forgot what Adams meant to that moment.
The way they speak of each other, it doesn't really seem like they will get into a fight like that.
Right, that they would be
Exactly, like you're talking to me, and it's like these people love each other, you know?
they're gonna become best friends later.
Yeah, like like you go to my wedding, my kid's wedding, la 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 la, you know?
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like the type of relationship that gets into this rough
Yeah.
patch.
Now, let's shift the setting. The war continues, the new nation struggles, and both men are sent overseas as diplomats. This part matters because it removes them from the public stage and put them in something more personal. In 1785, Jefferson heads to France as the new American minister. At the same time, Adam is wrapping up his work in Great Britain, having already spent years in France and the Netherlands. Their paths cross occasionally in Europe, through visits, letters, and the Red Diner. Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, spends time in Europe while John is in diplomatic missions, managing the family far from home. She and Jefferson correspond, exchanging thoughtful and respectful letters of mutual admiration. By this time, Jefferson is a widower, having lost his wife Martha in 1782. During this period, Abigail's letters show genuine care, not just fake sympathy, not political obligation, but something closer to familiar warmth. By the mid 1780s, these leaders were more than political colleagues. They knew each other's children. They had represented a fragile new nation, and through it all, these personal connections matter. Their friendship wasn't built in a peacetime comfort, it was built in uncertainty, in shared risk, in the kind of proximity that comes when you're both trying to build something that might fail.
Pretty much they were the brother from the other, like, what is that word they said? The brother from the other mother? You're my brother from the other from another mother?
But I think if we don't know each other, you and me, you beautiful person. If we don't know each other and then something happens, some kind of like accident that we both go through, that kind of like creates that kind of bond between the two of us.
We share the same
Yeah.
traumatic experience.
Yeah, so I would imagine that when
They
they're
understand
writing,
each other.
yes, when they're writing the independence and the declaration, and when they're going through all that and all the uncertainty, and they're like, bro,
It's like war buddies.
yes.
They were war buddies.
So the revolution ends. The Revolutionary War, it's
Mhm.
over. The fighting stops, the smoke clears, the British leave. So finally they have independence. And suddenly the big question hits. What now? What are we building? John Adams looks at this fragile nation and thinks we need order. We need structure. We need laws that hold these people accountable because humans are messy. He's not wrong. He's lived in Europe. He's seen government collapse and citizens suffer. Chaos scares him. Violence scares him. He believes liberty needs guardrails. Thomas Jefferson sees it differently. He's younger. He's still in France. He's seen social unrest and inequality in France. He believes concentrated power is the real danger. As we've heard before, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Jefferson thinks that the government should be small. Farmers are the backbone, not the government, right? People can govern themselves if given the freedom. And here's the thing, these aren't tiny disagreements, these are worldviews. These are philosophical tensions underneath the friendship they have. Same goal, different visions. Then comes France. The revolution explodes in 1789. There is a revolution that happens in France. Jefferson watches closely. To him, it's a continuation of what happened in 1776. The people rising, liberty spreading beyond the colonies, ideals alive and burning. Adam sees something very different. He sees blood and chaos.
So a different PTSD for both of them.
Yeah, yes. I would imagine like they just became like a brand new country.
And it hasn't been that long.
It hasn't, yes, it hasn't been that long, and they're like, because really, it's not like America's already founded and like it has its foundation like we do today. It's like we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we just like setting the foundation.
Yes,
yeah.
And so seeing another country going through the same thing, it kind of like adds a little bit of pressure, to keep up and to stay.
I'm tired of these, Grandpa.
Yeah. So with all the chaos and all the problems that were happening in France, Adams thinks that this is what happens when freedom is in balance with order. And then politics enters the scene. Adams becomes a Federalist. Jefferson leads the Democratic Republicans. Newspapers attack. Federalist papers call Jefferson a radical atheist. Republican papers paint Adams as a monarchist sympathizer and a tyrant in disguise, mocking his character, questioning his loyalty, and attacking his policies.
Just like they do on social media today.
You think that newspapers back then were like different, like objective and all this stuff, but not really. It was the same. I mean,
they wouldn't survive without the gossip, so they need it.
Yeah. So the friendship between Adams and Jefferson, it's strained. It's not broken. Not yet, anyway. But it's thin. And the country they helped create is now dividing along the same fault lines that divides them. Then comes 1796, the first truly contested presidential election in American history. Adams runs as a Federalist. Jefferson runs as the leader of the Democratic Republicans. They're no longer philosophical rivals. They are opponents.
You would think that this, how do I put this in words? Like, they went through the same thing with signing the
Declaration.
The Declaration of Independence. So you would think that they will be like in the same theme. Like, instead of like me against you, it's like us against the world kind of thing.
Well, but
I mean, if you go to war with me, at the end of the day, like, we're friends, right? Like, yes, we try to make this world better.
Yeah, but that's like in the movies. That's not real life.
I mean,
I guess. That's not real life, because once we serve each other and we get to the point that we accomplish something, what happens later, like it's someone like, let's say two people that build a company and then they later decide that they want different things.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans. Yeah. Different mindsets.
Yeah. But here is the twist. The Constitution at the time doesn't separate votes for president and vice president. Each elector casts 2 votes. Whoever gets the most votes becomes president. The runner-up, vice president. So Adams wins. And Jefferson, the man he now disagrees with the most, becomes his vice president.
Really?
Yes.
I thought Jefferson had it, He seemed like he had the less gas up between the two of them.
Could you imagine, let's say you have Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, or Donald Trump and Joe Biden as his vice president?
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Or like Obama and,
I don't think you sleep at night, thinking, what are they going to do against me?
Like today, we know that the vice president is just like there.
In case the other one dies.
if Trump gets elected along with Kamala. You stay home. You're going to stay there. We don't
Getting your
need you.
check, stay there.
Right? So imagine that your chief rival, your chief political rival, now sitting one heartbeat away from the presidency. It's polite on the surface, but underneath, tension simmers.
I bet.
The nation feels fragile. Foreign tensions rise. Divisions harden. Then comes 1798, the Alien and Sedition Acts.
What act is this one?
The Sedition Act makes it a crime to publish what the government calls false and malicious criticism.
Fake news.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly today. To the Federalists, this isn't tyranny, it's protection. They believe the country is under threat. Political factions are getting louder. Newspapers are getting harsher. If things spiral, the Republican could tear itself apart before it's even stable. But Jefferson sees something completely different. To him, this feels like a betrayal. This is exactly what they fought a revolution against. If citizens can't criticize their leaders, what kind of republic is this?
Yeah, it's like going back to the beginning. Like, oh, here goes the king again.
Yes, exactly. So, quietly, not in speeches, not in public confrontations, the vice president starts pushing back behind the scene, drafting arguments, coordinating allies, looking for ways to block the Sedition Act and limit the president's power. Now, this isn't just a disagreement over policy. This is a fundamental clash over what freedom is supposed to look like.
You know, I think we need more of that today. I mean, if you think about it, you're never going to see today the vice president going against something the president says. Because, I mean, in a way, it makes them look weak.
Yes,
They don't want that,
exactly.
right? But, you know.
So, what's happened with the friendship that they once had with the shared revolution is now strained by two different visions of what the revolution was meant to build. The friendship doesn't explode in some dramatic shouting match. It fades slowly. Adams begins to suspect something he never wanted to believe, that Jefferson is working against him, not debating, undermining him. Jefferson, for his part, becomes convinced that Adams is drifting from the principle they once defended together.
I'm on Jefferson's side.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. No accusation is spoken plainly between the two. The distance is noticeable, though. They are moving apart, not only in private correspondence, but in public alignment. And the shift carries weight. And now, political allies begin choosing sides. So, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, they both believe that they are protecting the revolution. Adams believes he's keeping it safe. Jefferson believes he's keeping it free. Both want the same thing. Both love their country. And neither sees that they are already on a collision course. This isn't villain versus hero. This is two revolutionaries defending the revolution differently. And this tension sets the stage for everything that follows. The election of the 1800s, the first political rupture in America. It's the 1800s. The election is here. Jefferson runs against Adams, and it's brutal. Newspapers tear into them like weapons.
Newspaper love those headlines.
That's why we have it today. I think it's the only thing that sells. It's the only thing that sells. If the newspaper were like
Be
everything,
honest about it, everything will be boring.
or if they would say everything is good, it would also, they would be out of business.
I mean, yeah, we'll have you seen something good in the news.
Federalist papers warn that Jefferson is a dangerous radical, someone who would destroy the republic. Republican papers hit back. Adams is called a power-hungry elitist, a man who would turn the country toward monarchy. For the first time in American history, two organized parties are battling for control, not just idea, but real power. Election night comes, and the country waits. Then the news hits, a tie. Back then, the rules were different. The candidate with the most votes becomes president. And now, the Electoral College doesn't distinguish between the president and vice president. Jefferson and his running mate, Aaron Burr, are tied. The decision moves to the House of Representatives. To win, a candidate needs the majority of states. The problem, some states' delegations were split. They couldn't agree internally. So the House votes over and over 36 times without a winner.
36.
Yeah. They wouldn't agree. So
What do we do from here?
yeah, they had to change the
Yeah.
electoral college. They had to change it several times over the years because
It was trial and error back then, I guess.
yeah, the same thing happened. The same thing happened between Thomas Jefferson and Adams. You have two people from different parties being on the same administration. That's a problem. You're not supposed to have that. So they're changing it, and as they find it,
They tuned it to see what worked.
so finally, after days of deadlock, Jefferson is chosen president. Burr becomes vice president. John Adams, on the other hand, loses the presidential election. He's 65 years old. He gave everything to this country, and now he's voted out. It could have gone differently. He could have refused to leave the White House. He could have tried to block Jefferson's inauguration. The country was fragile. The Constitution was untested. Technically, the House had decided the election, and Jefferson was entitled to that office. But there were not detailed enforcement mechanisms. No army ready to remove the sitting president or something like that. No clear plans. If Adams said, nope, I'm staying. Everything relied on norms, on honor, on civic duty. Not legal guardrails. Not physical ones, anyway. And yet, Adams does the right thing. He accepts the results. He lives quietly, though. He steps aside.
These speak about really highly of them because, like you said, he could have just been like, no, he's my rival. I'm not going to do that. But instead, he decides to keep everything calm for the sake of the country, like trying to keep it together.
So John Adams steps aside and he allows Jefferson to become president. And in doing so, he sets a precedent. The first peaceful transfer of power in American history. Think about this. Now, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams used to write constantly. Letters back and forth, warmth, curious, full of life. Now, nothing. Years go by. The country changes, and still no words. The silence is loud. Enter Dr. Benjamin Rush, a mutual friend of both of them. He basically says, you two are going to die someday, so you need to fix this.
I was exactly thinking of that because when you said, who was 65? Jefferson?
No, Adams, yeah.
Like, without talking without years, I don't think they have, many years to kind of make it up because I don't think the life expectancy back then was like 100 or whatever,
And so it is now 1812. Adams writes first. He says, you and I ought not to die before we have explained ourselves to each other. That's kind of cool, right?
That's cute.
They're saying like, come on, we need to make up. That's basically what he's saying. Jefferson responds, and suddenly the floodgates open. Over the next 14 years, they exchange 158 letters. They debate religion, philosophy, human nature, and the meaning of the revolution. It's like two aging warriors looking back at the battlefield.
It's like they picked up where they left off.
Yeah.
Which is, I find it cute because, two old men writing.
Yeah.
Not love letters, but, letters.
Anyway, 50 years after the Declaration, and this is the part that I find like it's incredible because this story ends in almost like a telenovela, like you say. 50 years after the Declaration, Jefferson is dying at Monticello. Adams is dying in Massachusetts, both on July 4th. You remember? The Declaration of Independence was published on July 4th, 1776.
And written by these both men.
Yeah. And 50 years later, on that same day, Jefferson dies first. Hours later, Adams whispered, Thomas Jefferson survives. He didn't know that Jefferson was already gone. Even after all that rivalry, that's who was on his mind. And they die the same day.
Not freaking way. It's like almost poetic, you know? It's like these people were put by fate together.
Yeah.
And the same people that were going, like, It's, I guess,
What
they
I
say that it's written.
what I love about it is that they patch it up. They make it work, and the fact that they both died on the same, it's a cool story to tell, It's beautiful. It's beautiful. On the anniversary of the document that bound them together in the beginning, they both passed away. If history ever wrote poetry, that's it.
That's it.
The first peaceful transfer of power didn't happen because everyone was polite. It happened because two men who deeply disagreed accepted the results. The caliber of men back then leaves a real example for us to follow.
And they were trying to keep it together for their country, their newly country. So that speaks values about them.
What would be the thing for us today to measure up to something like that? For a politician, I think it's embarrassing because you fight publicly and you lose publicly.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fact that John Adams decided to do the right thing, and all the presidents after that, it's great. I mean, Donald Trump kind of in
If we
2020.
talk about transferring of power, I mean, they did.
Donald Trump messed it up on that one, bro.
They did,
Yeah, I know. He was trying to think. You know what? Let's leave it there. Anyway, I think this is a wonderful story that makes you think that you don't know what's gonna happen later in life.
And it leaves you thinking that things can work out if we're civil about it.
Yeah.
If we've, what's it called? They didn't talk things out when they were transferring the power. But it's just being mindful about what's at stake if you don't play your part.
They probably hated each other at the time.
Yes.
And the fact that, choosing to be the bigger person, I think that's one of the greatest lessons.
Yes.
Choosing to be the bigger person, doing the right thing regardless of how you feel about it, of how you feel about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great example.
And it's the hardest thing to do.
It is the hardest thing to do. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. This is the second episode. We are here standing.
We're really excited about this.
Yes.
Something different from our routine.
Yes.
Or marry with kids routine.
This is us standing on this small closet. Somewhat
running out of air, but we're good.
We're good. And we are hoping this recording went well. And I love you, sweetie.
Love you too.
Okay. Thank you for listening, guys. We hope to see you next week. We are dropping episodes every week, every Monday. So we hope to see you. And if you can, please follow our show and give us a 5-star review. That way we can make it grow along with you. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.